What's up, everybody? Dr. Donna.
And Dr. Chris.
And, usually when we come to you with this video, I don't have like a bunch of stuff on my lap, right? But I had to bring notes. We had to bring notes because let's be real. There's a lot. There is a lot going on right now. And we just wanted to take a minute and kind of speak to you a little bit differently than we have been. Our goal is to come at you with positive information, with empowering information, with information that you can take and immediately put into action. But there comes a time where certain things come to play, and if we don't speak up, well then our freedom, our child's freedom, your kids' freedoms will all be taken away more than they already are. So I apologize in advance if some of the things that we tell you to look up and some of the critical thinking that we tell you to do bothers you. I'm sorry if it makes you sad. I'm sorry if it freaks you out and gives you anxiety. I'll give you some extra min checks next time you're here with your adjustment. But I'm not sorry for you opening up your mind, learning what truth is, and learning for yourself. Not because we told you, not because the mainstream media told you, dear God, not because the mainstream media told you, but because we introduced you to a couple of things that you can then look up for your own. And really look up. Don't just Google it, because if you don't know already, Google and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and they all censor stuff, guys. They censor things because they're in control and they can. And they're really powerful, and if they don't want you to see something, you won't see it. So fact number one, if you didn't know that, I'm sorry. But we want you to look up a couple of things going on right now, because we're home. Our nation is not open, and there are some people who are okay with that, and then there's some people who don't know if they should be okay with that, because obviously, let's make one thing clear here. Everybody wants everybody to be healthy, okay? Nobody wants anybody to die. Nobody wants this to become a big thing, but we're overreacting to a certain number that when you actually look at stats, because I like numbers, I don't like statistics like that, but I like numbers. So when you actually look at things, you start to question, hold up, how is our nation not allowed to do anything for this? So let's kind of go into some of
this. Yeah, let's dig in. And, as you said, some of this may not be super positive, but it will still be empowering. So that you can take action on it and do some research and form your own decisions about it. Because
you are in control of you. And there are actions that you can take every single day so that you don't become a statistic for anything. That's something that you've heard us say for a really long time. Because our goal is to, through our own practice, learn how to better take care of ourselves, so then we can, of course, bring that same information to you, right? And then you get to choose what you want to do with it. So, number one, let's kind of talk about 5G. I'm not sure if you know what 5G is, if you've looked into 5G, if you have seen it on your Verizon plan and everything that comes up, but a lot of our stuff right now runs on 4G, and 5G just sounds like
upgrade.
Upgrade life. We're gonna get faster technology. I'm gonna be able to watch my Netflix faster and do my shopping in Nordstrom with one faster click. What's the big deal?
And that speed part, that's true.
Yeah, totally. But 5G has been questioned. There's been backlash. There's been, we've seen videos of people tearing towers down.
Some countries have outright banned it for the time being.
Right. And even my mom sent me an article from Glendale Unified saying that they will not be utilizing 5G, and that some of their schools are partnering up with Verizon for certain things, but not 5G capable. And so it makes you kind of think, well, why? Like, why don't you want that kind of stuff around your school?
Especially if it's just pitched as just a straight up upgrade. Why wouldn't we want it?
Right? If you know nothing about EMFs, at minimum you know that like what I'm doing right now is not good. Like my cell phone is literally on.
But show them what you have.
Yes.
Like.
But I do have something called a safe sleeve that my phone stays in all the time, so that even if it is on me, which I don't keep it. Please don't shout it in your booth. If I don't keep it on me, at least it has some kind of like barrier on it, right?
Mine's got the same thing.
So with EMFs, like we shouldn't be exposed to EMFs. We shouldn't have a ton of EMFs. Like they're just not good for our health.
And EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency.
Yes, and so with 5G and with EMFs, because let's be real, like EMF effects aren't something of like, boop, there it is, you got something now. No, it's little bits worked into your system, right? And with 5G, I'm going to read you some of this stuff. What it does is it's a low frequency microwave like radiation. And you're like, oh, that sounds kind of weird, like I'm being microwaved. But it's kind of that. It's exactly what that is. So when that happens, it affects something called your VGCCs, and those are your voltage-gated calcium channels in your body. Your calcium channels, what they do is they get an abnormal influx of calcium into the cells. What that's going to do is it's going to trigger nitric oxide and superoxides, and then it forms I can't even say the word, peroxynitrite, I can't say it. Basically, nobody wants these channels to be flooded with all of this stuff, because then what ends up happening is it creates a whole mess of problems for your health. And there are areas in your body that you have more dense calcium channels. Your nervous system, your brain, the pacemaker of your heart, and your reproductive organs. And so you run the risk of neurological issues, neuropsychiatric issues, heart and reproductive issues, and mood issues to come to play. If you are exposed to this stuff even more, if your phone is always up to your ear, if you work somewhere where that's, your reality, it's time to start thinking about some shielding or something that you can do. This conversation can get really long, and you're going to find a lot of sides saying that like, nah, our skin is going to be enough of a barrier, right? Like it's thick enough to do that, but every little bit, your skin is your largest organ. We talk about that all the time. I tell you to make sure not to put bad lotion on your skin because that's going to get in your system. I don't care if it's a barrier, and every little bit, every little millimeter of penetration of this microwave radiation in your body is eventually going to seep in. So if you've never looked up 5G stuff, look up some stuff from Dr. Mercola. He talks a ton about EMFs, but just get an idea of what this means and what you can do. Like we're going to look into some paint for the house. We're going to look into what to do with our Wi-Fi, how to unplug it. Of course, not keeping our phones near us, but there are little steps that you can take. So just look into this, because this is a part of the plan of what's rolling out right now.
And with 5G and EMFs and the whole thing, I've never seen anything conclusive, because we're all unique individuals. Some people are like super affected by it.
Yes.
And they have symptoms like quickly. Others are not. But if you think of like from the time where we got into this Wi-Fi smartphone game, we suddenly became all the time in the environment of having a Wi-Fi signal. When I got my first phone, all I did was make phone calls, and I think it could play a game of like Snake, right? Like it didn't do a whole lot. And we didn't have like wireless routers in our homes. Like we have all this stuff constantly around us. So it's worth looking into for your health. And like you said, if you happen to be in a workplace or a work setting where, it's even higher speed and this and that, and like suddenly you notice that, when you're at work, you're developing some of the symptoms when you start to look into it. See if they get worse when the upgrades come along. And that goes for multiple things. Like the lighting, the EMFs, a lot in terms of the work environment, but start to look into that, start to explore it. Here's some symptoms.
Headache, heart palpitations, tingling, tinnitus, auditory effects, shortness of breath, fatigue. Now, some of these things you're like, like that could be like anything.
Yeah.
And you're right. But Dr. Chris made the best point of like, if you know that this is something that's now near your work or near your home, and then you start to experience symptoms that are not your regular symptoms, look into
Investigate.
sleep issues, blood pressure issues, persistent flu-like symptoms. Just gonna leave that there for you to figure out. And then later, it could lead to tumors, cancers, DNA damage, cell damage, oxidative stress, blood-brain barrier issues, issues with reproductive organs like we talked about, impaired blood flow, degenerative brain injuries, and so on and so forth. And again, we are all a different person. We all have different makeups, different, our genetic, everything is so different. So yeah, for you, you might never feel that. But for me, before I had my safe sleeve, if I would hold my phone in my hand for a little bit, my hands would hurt. Like my fingers would just feel, I would have to do this because I didn't know how to describe what was going on. I never get that with my safe sleeve on. So I can't hold a regular phone for too long without my body like responding like that. So be mindful of some of those weird symptoms that maybe you've never connected because they might be from EMS.
And like go with your gut too, because with something like that, if you look up the Safe Sleeve, they're a great company. We have them, our families have them. You're gonna find stuff when you look it up that some say like it's nonsense, the radiation's still there, whatever. But the feeling in your hands doesn't lie.
It went away.
Like that doesn't lie.
It totally went away.
And like I would used to feel that too. And not to the same degree, but I would feel that tingle, like something was just not right. So go with your gut. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we tell you guys for all things in your health, listen to your body?
Yeah.
All right, next topic. Go look up 5G and EMFs.
Yes.
What's next?
Next topic, I just want to talk about some simple statistics because I'm going to flat out tell you, I don't agree with all of us being home. I just don't. I understand that there are certain areas where cases are higher and things are a little bit more dangerous. Great, stay home. But for everybody to do so, I, Adana, do not agree with that. If you don't like that statement, I'm really sorry, but let me tell you why. Every single year, a lot more shit goes down and our nation doesn't lock down because of it. Let me give you one statistic and let that be heart disease. I went on I believe it was on the CDC. Not my favorite, but you know what? For stats, let's do it. 647,000 people die each year from heart disease. 805,000 people have a heart attack. If that doesn't get you to do what I just did, oh my God. Like we talk about like chronic issues all the time, but Jesus, those numbers are like even scarier to me, right? And then I looked up diabetes, and then I looked up suicides, and then I looked up like all these statistics. And the numbers are astronomically different than what's going on right now. And yes, I know you've heard like even the flu. I'm not even going to talk about the flu right now, okay? Because you don't want to compare the statistics and you think this is different. Fine, let's not even discuss the flu. But why is it that our world didn't shut down when this was going on? Why? Like right now in California, there have been 985 deaths, and let me be clear, one death is one too many, okay? And 985 is a scary, sucky number. Out of the 27,528 cases so far. I will also tell you that I think that number is a little bit skewed, the 985, because doctors are being told that if something is assumed to be coronavirus, you get to write that down as the primary cause of death, with or without testing. If it's assumed that the person has it, the secondary, the tertiary, none of that matters, that's what you get to write down. We were listening to a news, I can't remember who it was that was speaking, who brought up like, when you talk about health and when you talk about the money, it gets really awkward, and it does. It's very unfortunate, but it does. There's a lot of money like $13,000 per COVID diagnosis, and then $39,000 per ventilator used. Like, I'm gonna let you figure it out, but it gets awkward. It gets
I was a
awkward.
medical doctor, I believe, from Minnesota.
So when you look at that, in California alone, that's 3%, which means 100 minus 3 is 97%. 97% of the people who had something, developed something, and were affected by whatever COVID gave them are here. 97%. And then I was like, you know what, that's just California specific, so let's just take some numbers. California has, right now, it's to say, 39.5 million people that live here. So when you divide 985 by 39.5 million people, you get 0.00002493 as the percentage. That's kind of a low number. I know, you're looking at me like, great, thank you for your math lesson of the day. But my point is, this is not how you build immunity. This is not how you build health. Tell us how you maybe might build immunity, because again, no death is acceptable, no death is okay. Please don't take this out of context to how I'm saying it, but there are other things that go on in our day-to-day, and our nation doesn't stop. The people who are healthy have still gone on with their lives. So what's the deal now?
Our immunity requires exposure.
Yes.
Right? So it's not uncommon for us to encounter things. We encounter things all the time, guys. All the time. Like, I read a thing that I believe is in our lifetime, we are in contact with and process 60 million? It was a ton of viruses that we're in contact with all the time.
I'm going to look it up because I think it was closer to a million.
I think it was in the millions as well. And our body knows how to deal with that stuff. We're built for that stuff. Now, one thing aside is that and this is like still news that's still being circulated, if there's a man-made component to this, then okay, maybe it's a little more scary. If it's,
look that up.
Look that up too. Yeah, that's a whole different thing. We're not, because we don't have all the facts on that, not going to go into it, but
we do have the fact that the coronavirus has a patent on it. Excuse me, I have an accent all of a second. The coronavirus has a patent on it, and the only reason, or the only way a virus can have a patent on it is if it has a man-made component.
Like an alteration to it. Think GMOs as far as food goes, like you can't patent an apple, but if you genetically modify it, its DNA sequence, then you could patent that. So similar thing for viruses and other pathogens. So we need exposure, and we deal with it all the time. That is where our first line of defense, our second line of defense, which is our innate immunity. We build antibodies, we do all these things, and obviously right now, whether it's from real credible, legitimate sources or not, as a whole, I think more people are hearing about the way our immune system works, maybe for the first time, and the concept of antibodies versus, treatments and possible prevention. Like, so much is being talked about in the realm of immunity that I don't think I've ever seen, because we had, we went through the swine flu and the bird flu and the whole thing, right? But like, there wasn't as much attention on it because obviously there weren't lockdowns. It wasn't like a nationwide shutdown. So all this talk and conversation about it hasn't really come into play. But now we're hearing about it. So we need exposure. That's just how we develop things and build immunity and build antibodies. Like, if you know us and you are part of our practice, you know that we're here like all the time. We don't take sick days, we don't do this, but we're in contact with tons of people.
We let you sneeze on us, cough on us, little kids put their boogers on us every single day.
We have a sign on the door.
Multiple times a day.
Because we have to from the city standpoint, and we'd like to still keep taking care of you, but it says something about if you have symptoms of a respiratory illness, including cough or fever, if you've been a part of our practice, when you have those things, we tell you, come in so we can help your system fight it off faster, more efficiently. That's part of our practice. It's how we keep you guys well. It's how we stay well. We get adjusted when we are feeling something too. And it's not to say that we never ever get sick. We deal with stuff occasionally, but you don't see us like out for the count because we maintain our lifestyle at a very high level. And that's the stuff we educate on. But you know who's not educating on that stuff? The people that should be.
Yes.
Our governing bodies in the world of health. So we're talking CDC, WHO. We're looking at those people, and they are straight up missing the ball. Yes, they're great for the testing. Well, I don't know if they're great, but they are responsible for that end of it, right? They're facilitating the testing, and they're working on the vaccines, which we're going to talk about in a second. But they are not educating us on how to get well and stay well for our lives, right? They don't, and we could argue that they don't want us to, but at the very least, they're just not doing it because, well, there's not a lot of money in it, number one. There's a lot of reasons why they're not doing it, but they're just straight up not.
Say it. What were you going to say?
Well, I was getting to the point of we, as the United States of America, we rank 37 in overall health of our citizens in our nation, whatever. If we rank 37, like I grew up, you may have grown up learning that America's number one. I watched the Olympics and we dominated all these crazy sports, and like we are constantly like the best country in the world. Why are we 37th in health? Which arguably is the most important thing for all of us, is to stay healthy.
Yeah.
We're 37th, so why would we expect that our ranking of 37th is now going to be the best approach to this COVID-19, right? Why would we be the best at doing that when we can't even get our people to stay well and be well for their entire lives with all these other ongoing things?
Absolutely. And look, with immunity, they don't want you to be healthy. The healthier you are, the less money goes in their pockets. I'm really, really sorry to break that to you, but I'm sure you knew pharmaceutical companies and people like, Bill Gates will make billions off of you for all of this stuff. Not if you take extra vitamin C, not if you take some extra vitamin D and see your chiropractor and go outside and exercise and sleep and meditate. I'm sorry, they're just not going to make billions. And I'm going to make a little side note because, we have looked into the WHO and the CDC, and we've done our own research on who funds them and who really contributes to them and the people that are in charge for them. So we suggest you do the same. Suggest you look at who's intertwined and who's really funding and making these decisions and what they're going to gain from them. And then there's the other portion of, some people are really upset about the malaria medication, right? And how that's being promoted. Look that malaria medication up. Look up the individuals that, their pharma company that kind of created it. And then look up what happened to them after they made a little bit of a claim, because that malaria medication has been said to have improved a lot of stuff with health. And I'm going to make a political statement here, and I'm sorry if it's going to bother you, but a lot of people have been attacking Trump because they said that he's invested in the company, so of course he's going to promote that. So are you. So are you. If you have mutual funds or certain stocks, I'd like for you to pull them up and see who it goes to, okay? So just stop, because I think anything that comes out of that man's mouth, some of you will just take as nothing. And again, that's your choice. If you want to, that's fine. But check stuff out. Like, look and see what's happening. Because there are a lot of pissed people about him cutting funding to the WHO right now. Why are you mad about it? I'm thrilled about it. We're thrilled about it. But you look it up. You look up the WHO and who's in charge and who put them there and what the CDC represents and who funds them. And then right now we'll go on to the other individual that we mentioned. But staying healthy is not a popular thing.
No.
Like, it's not a popular thing.
We think it's great.
Guys, if you're scared, I'm gonna give you two choices, right? Number one, stay home. If you're so scared to be outside and you're scared of another human being, which just tears me up inside. Like, I literally want to sit in the corner and cry when I see humans being scared of other humans all of a sudden because somebody on TV told you to be. All of a sudden. Like, if the media had been pulled out of this whole thing and everybody would have gone through life the same way, I will guarantee you that your mindset would not be where it is right now and things would not be a shit show. It just would not have been. And so we're losing sight of the importance of human connection and what relationships are. We're losing sight of the fact that we're not allowed to go outside, like to the beach, like to camping, like in the wilderness. Like, people are calling and complaining about people taking a walk with their family. Where are our values and our priorities? What is happening in this world? So I understand when we're scared, when we're fearful. Of course, if you're scared for your life, yes, I get it. However, what are you really scared about? If your lifestyle sucks right now, you should be scared. I'm sorry, but you should be. And we're not sitting here telling you our lifestyle is perfect. Every single day we're trying to figure out something to do better. Did you drink your water? Did you take your supplements? Did you exercise today? Because it gets hard, and sometimes it's not fun doing that stuff. You think we wake up every morning freaking excited to do all that stuff? No! Some days it's really hard. But we do it because we know nobody's going to do it for us. Nobody's going to make you healthier. I mean, we're going to help with the nervous system stuff, but we're not. We are not those people. You are. Like, whatever you put in your mouth today, that's your choice. If it sucked, great. Don't do it again tomorrow. Today's already done. Take an extra charcoal while you're at it. But just know that you're responsible for you. And every day, like Dr. Chris said, every day we're exposed to so many things. They're not going to be the end of you. They're not. But your poor lifestyle habits and your fear and not really making sure you take care of your insides and your brain and your body, that's what's going to drive you, because your stress levels are going to be bonkers and out of control.
You know, if we go back to the people that have passed, unfortunately, due to this, I saw a stat for the state of California that said 90% of them had a pre-existing condition. The first people to report that I saw was Italy, and they said 99% of the people that passed in Italy had a pre-existing condition, and that could be something like diabetes, heart attack, obesity, heart disease, obesity, and on, congestive heart failure, different things that were going on in their systems before. And what really sucks is that we as a nation, we failed them.
Right.
Because we are brought into a sick world because we're not focusing on how to keep our people well. Kids are born and they get pumped full of vaccines quick. They get put on formula that's just junk. They get toxified like from the get-go. And then they're given, X amount of medication throughout the course of their youth. I was one of those kids on a bunch of antibiotics. Did I need to be on them? I would say now, no, because we take care of kids and get them off of that stuff. There are other ways. Our food supply sucks. We're put into stressful environments do you know how many parents have told us through this whole thing that their kids are less stressed? Because school is a different format, whether it's online or however they're doing school right now, but they're sleeping in more and they're happier.
They're growing.
They're growing. Their
Crazy
schedules aren't packed full of stuff. Like, I think this is going to, when we're looking for the positives, this is going to be a great recalibration of what we're doing as far as our kids' day-to-day lives. Because we're pumping them so much that they're stressed out little kids. We don't need stressed out little kids because then they become unhealthy adults. And then they become part of the statistics and part of the machine. And I know a lot of this stuff is what we educate on. And we do it typically in a softer way, like encouraging you to do more for yourself. Like Dr. Donna said, we can help on the chiropractic end. We talk about 5 things all the time, 5 essentials to your health. One of them is chiropractic. The other 4 are things we can educate you on, but you have to do the action. You have to go out there and do it. You have to get up and work out. You have to get up and do your morning routine in a way that's going to empower you and be an example for your kids. You have to do that work. But we can help you with one. And we're going to continue to educate, and we're never going to stop educating on the other ones because we know they're important so that we don't fall into this bad side of the statistic.
Absolutely. Well done. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a bigger one. We're going to talk a little bit about, because we've been asked, and I'm sure you've seen, but there is a mission right now through Bill Gates, right, and the Gates Foundation.
I would argue that it's multiple, but he just happens
yeah.
to be like the guy right now.
So I want to tell you a couple things about Bill Gates. First of all, no secret, not a fan. So am I going to be biased in what I tell you? Sure, if that's what you want to call me, by all means, I'm not going to deny not a fan. So if you like the individual, great. Just stop this video right here, and then I will.
Or keep your mind open and learn why.
Whatever you want, it's your choice. I love you, regardless of what your thoughts are about me and this individual. So a couple things with Bill Gates is he is just, they call him like the leader, an innovator. He's the face of a lot of public health stuff going on because the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation pumps a shit ton of money into public health, but more importantly into vaccines and injections. And so I'm sure you've seen stuff come up about like the coronavirus vaccine, and you know, it's just like the flu shot and the swine flu one and whatever came out, but this one's gotten a little bit more creepy and a little bit more specific. So let's tell you why. So there's a little bit of an agenda to what happens as we like open up these phases, and like you kind of have to pass this test about like how are you going to be able to go back into society, which is bullshit if you ask me. But what they'd like to do eventually, and if you really look into the Real ID, take a look at the Real ID and what that means, and if you don't have it, what the restrictions are going to be, like travel, like your driver's license, things like that. Thankfully, it's been pushed out a year. I'll take it. Let's have it keep being pushed out.
Yeah.
But there is a process that comes with that is like microneedling, right? So you will have this beautiful embedded marker,
ink,
in you, that then you become trackable, traceable, and that we can just say, ooh, you've had this, you haven't. With an infrared camera, they can scan that, and your little barcode or whatever comes up will then just pop up with your little face and tell them if you followed their rules or not. And then based on if you followed their rules or not, they can grant you your driver's license, allow you to travel, and a whole lot of other stuff that is going to come with that. It makes me uncomfortable just saying the words. If that doesn't scare you, please let my face scare you and my reaction to that. Last time I checked, I didn't want to be microchipped or have anything on my system that some rando can scan to see if I followed their rules. Guys, that's scary. Like, literally, it's making me uncomfortable sitting here. Like, I kind of want to go throw up a little bit. That's not okay. To do that to you and your body is not okay. Because times where people have been labeled and given certificates and had stuff written on them are kind of dark times.
Yeah.
You know? It's Armenian Genocide Month. Don't need another reminder of that in a new modern day version. Just gonna put that out there. So I'd like you to look that stuff up for yourself. I'm not making it up.
And yeah, if you think that that's not like, oh, that would never happen, like Argentina already, people cannot renew their passports without proof of their immunization record. Adults, this is not a kid thing.
Yeah.
In the U.S., it's like the whole mandated vaccines. California and New York especially have been the leaders in that, and we saw legislation go down, you know, in the last year that has affected a lot of people here. So the big play in the U.S. has been the kids. Well, other countries like Argentina, they're already doing the adults. Like, they can't renew their passport. And that microchipping the ink in your skin is going to be a way for, imagine you're rolling through TSA and they're going to check to see if you got your coronavirus vaccine or not, and they can scan it. So.
And again, if you want that, by all means,
yeah,
get
free
that.
will, your choice.
But that is a massive violation of our freedoms, a massive violation of everything that we stand for as human beings. So to be able to have someone mark me up, well, how am I in charge of me anymore? I am not. So, and this is not information that he has not said that you cannot find.
Yeah,
so
look
just
it up. It's out there.
Look up what it all means, because he's gotten a lot of slack from a lot of people who are like, you can't just do that. And also, he has this much training in health. This much. If you can't see that, it's a big fat zero. He's not a medical doctor. He's not a nurse. He is not a PA. He is not a insert any form of anything that has to do with health in there. He is a man with a lot of money and control. And so for someone to stand and be able to tell the rest of the world what to do is really scary. Because there are times that mothers of vaccine-injured children have stood up and said stuff, and they've been ridiculed and made fun of and dragged all over the place and said, you're not a doctor, you don't know. So they're not a doctor, they don't know, when they have first-hand experience of the individual sitting next to them. But this human being who's just a billionaire knows. So I would like to see him roll up his own sleeve instead of testing human beings like they're animals. In Africa, no, he should have been the first to get tested. So you can look that all up, and while you're at it, I'd like you to look up Event 201 just to get a little bit of an idea. And I think that might wrap things up.
Yeah, it might be. You know, our just with like any other vaccine, this is a new one, so it's going to be the most experimental one there is out there. We are not on team vaccine for a whole bunch of reasons. If you've been a part of our practice for any amount of time, you know that. And you can look up previous videos and go into that. If you have specific questions, please let us know. Because it's the one size fits all approach of the CDC and the US, which we are the most vaccinated country in the whole land, the whole world. And again, let me remind you about that 37th place ranking that we currently hold. That sucks. Not even top 10? Come on. And that's one of our staples of keeping our people healthy is the CDC recommended vaccinations. And now we're going to get into the adults. So there's going to be a fight from folks across the country, California especially. There was a fight over the school mandated ones. We obviously know who won. The state won that one. And it's caused a lot of people to alter their lifestyles, whether that means they're homeschooling or have just straight up moved out of the states. And yes, it's not just people say they're going to move. We know people who have physically moved. Multiple families who have just straight left to go somewhere that wouldn't do such a thing. But with everyone so caught up in the emotion that is conveyed through the mainstream media, we need to do this to save ourselves. Both the governors of California and New York have said something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing, that life will not return to normal until there's a vaccine.
Gross. That's gross.
And that's craziness.
Just
so
gross.
There's a lot to look up here. Again, we spoke in a lot of generalities because there's so much information. We could literally spend 12 hours talking about all of it and maybe still not even have all of it in there. But if you look it up, there's easily found, referenced, credible sources on all of this stuff. Go check it out because it's for your health. It's the health of your family. If you, like I said, if you have specific questions, throw them at us. And it may not be us educating you. We may just send you a link. Be like, here, boom, check this out. There's growing numbers of, as it relates to this whole thing going on right now, there's a growing numbers of medical doctors who they're the ones physically seeing patients, and they're saying and reporting that the methods are wrong.
that there's other ways and there's other ways to tackle this. But that message is unfortunately not the mainstream message. So if you stuck with us through this whole thing, thank you. We appreciate it. I hope it has opened your eyes. For some of you, it's going to be like, check, yeah, I knew all that. Cool. Just affirming that. For others, it's going to be like, holy moly.
I'm never talking to them again. What have they told me?
All we want for you guys is to be as healthy as possible.
Yes.
And the role we play in that is going to be continuing to educate you, to adjust you when you come on in, and making sure that your nervous system is functioning at its best. And that includes your brain. So in this case, it's how we think about these things and how we educate ourselves on these things.
Right. Because, again, when there are truths that are not being told, and there are truths that are being censored, and our freedom and our everything is on the line, it's not okay for us to stay quiet. So thank you for listening to us through all of this. If you need to split it up and hear it all over again, please do so. But just know at the end of the day, we're on your team.
Yes.
You don't have to do any of this alone. We will literally be there for every step of the way. And you can do this, and you got this.
We got this. See ya.
Bye.